We're going to look at how to do a little bit of statistics, and I'm going to focus primarily on how the calculator can assist you in doing this type of work. We're going to look at range, we're going to look at how to build a box plot, we're going to look at standard deviation, and in addition to that we'll look at mean and median as we go. Now let's start off with some numbers we're going to use. Let's use the values 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, 13,000, and 13,000 is going to be repeated, and we're going to look at 100,000. Now if you want to think of it this way, you could think of these as dollar figures, populations, whatever you want, but we'll go with dollar figures for this example. And let's say that's an income for a certain number of years, and we want to look at means, medians, and ranges for this income. And we're going to go to the TI calculator, and the first thing we do is we hit the stat button, which is where we want to start for most any stats that we do, and we're going to hit number 1, which is edit. Now you have an L1 and L2 and L3 that you can see. Those are your lists where you put in numbers. You actually have 6 of these lists, but only 3 can be seen on the screen at a time because of its size. So we're going to type in our numbers. Type in the 8,000 and hit enter. Then we'll type in 10,000 and hit enter. Type in the 12,000. That's one too many. Let me back up. You can back up and delete an extra 0. Looks better. Hit enter. 13,000. Hit enter. And of course 13,000 was repeated. So I will put it again and hit enter. And now for the 100,000 and hit enter. And there now all our numbers are in place. We hit stat again. This time we're going to go over and do some calculations. And under calculations we hit one variable stats, which is number 1, and we hit enter. And here's what we see. First thing it gives us is our mean of 26,000. That is the X bar, as we call it in statistics. And some of these other values aren't necessary, like sigma x squared, and so on. But moving on down, what we look at next is this SX, something we didn't ask for this time, but the calculator showed us anyway. That stands for standard deviation. This N is telling us that there were 6 values we put in. Arrowing on down, we'll see the minimum value was 8,000. The Q1 we'll talk about in just a second. The median was 12,500. And if we want the range, all we have to do is take the max that's telling us is 100,000 minus the minimum of 8,000. So we can do that ourselves. 100,000 minus the minimum of 8,000. Not 80,000. Again, back up. Ran with extra zeros. And we can see that the range was 92,000. Again, the calculator can very easily find your mean, your median, and the max and the min from which you can find your range. Now let's put some more data in and go back and see what else it can do. Again, hitting the stat button, hitting 1 for edit. Of course the old list is still there, so I can go up to L1 and hit clear and hit enter, and it wipes the list clean, and I'm ready to put a new list of numbers in. And let's look at the numbers. Let me go write them down first so we'll know what to refer to. Let's look at some more not such rounded off numbers. We'll do 1,118, 983, 1318, 2255, 2735, 2898, 2932, 2278, 1790, 1655, 1211, and 1160. So we have several more values this time. This time we'll find the mean, we'll find the median, we'll look at how to find the range, and we'll also find something known as Q1, and we will find Q3, and that stands for quartiles. Now your quartiles are the numbers that take the data and divide it into 4 equal parts. So if you take this data, sort of arrange it on a number line and cut it 1, 2, 3 times, we would have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. Well, the location of the first cut is Q1. The location of the second cut is called Q2. That is your median. And your last one is called Q3. These numbers are used to draw something called a box and whisker plot. In your box and whisker plot, the bottom of the box is Q1, the top is Q3. You draw inside the location of the median, and the whiskers go out to show how spread out the data is, to show, for example, the location of your minimum. It would be down here, and the location of your maximum up there. And again, the calculator can do all of this for us, so let's go and let it get to work. Alright, now we type in our numbers first. 1, 1, 1, 8, and you hit enter. That was our first number. And then the 983, hit enter. 13, 18, hit enter. The 22, 55, hit enter. 27, 35, hit enter. 28, 98, hit enter. 29, 32, hit enter. 22, 78, hit enter. 17, 90, hit enter. 16, 55, hit enter. 1, 2, 1, 1, hit enter. And 11, 60, and hit enter. And that is all of our data. So once again, we hit stat, we go over to calculation, we do one variable stats and hit enter, and we see our numbers coming up. First of all, you see the mean is an 1861 approximately. We can arrow down, see the median is 1722.5. And again, it tells us the max, it tells us the min. So max subtract min would give us easily the range. It gives us the quartiles, the Q1 and Q3. And if we want a plot, we can go second, stat plot. Under number 1, we will turn stats plots on, and under type we go down, or we go over several times to turn it to Boxplot, box and whisker plot, and it knows the X list, it knows the frequency. And when we hit graph, we got to do our settings. Got to set our window. Remember, our numbers went down as low as the 900, so we'll put a X minimum of 900. The highest the numbers went was almost 3,000, so we'll put 3,000. For our max. And now hopefully when we graph it, yes, we can see our box and whisker plot. And if we hit trace, it'll show us the median. Moving over, it shows us the first quartile, shows us the minimum. Going back to the right, Q3 is visible and the max is visible. And again, the mistake I made that you have to remember is to go in and set your window. Your minimum X value should drop a little bit below it. Your maximum X value, you should come a little bit above it to be able to see that graph on your calculator window.